Welcome to my ninth LaSalleMart podcast. At the beginning of each month, almost, I publish an update about LaSalleMart and Club Commerce. In mid-month, I publish an update on my blog at blog.lasallecommerce.com. Today, I am combining both into this podcast and video. Hello, my name is Bob Bloom from Toronto, Canada. Today is Wednesday, September 19th, 2012. My flagship podcast, The Bob Bloom Show, is on hiatus. It will return, but right now my focus is on LaSalleMart and Club Commerce. And as you see, today's podcast is also a video. LaSalleMart 1.0 is a fork of Tiana 0.8.2, works on Joomla 1.5 only. There are differences between Tiana and LaSalleMart. LaSalleMart has already diverged. The second LaSalleMart Canada site just went live. Entrepreneurship is an absolutely different experience living it than reading about it. This summer I experienced my own entrepreneurship profoundly because my entrepreneurship seems like a big stinking failure. And that's what living my entrepreneurship's been. Heap of self-doubt sprinkled by a lack of results. It's taking so long for LaSalleMart and Club Commerce to coalesce. It's frustrating. Molasses pours faster. Grass grows faster. Then has my Club Commerce's progress. I always had this vision, that romantic vision of entrepreneurship, but the reality for me is a daily grind of persistence. I'll tell you a secret. I expected to be pounding the pavement this month, creating a job for myself by finding an outfit attracted to my LaSalleMart charm. You know, in this economy, you have to create your own job, which is an entrepreneurial thing on its own. This is pretty ironic. Well, my entrepreneurship seems to have come down to being enough of a man to know when to quit. So in preparation for quitting entrepreneurship, to create a job for myself, which is ironic, I knew I had to learn more technical skills, the very same set of skills that I need for my heretofore entrepreneurial efforts. So I dove into learning software development environments, software repositories, agile methodologies, build scripts, testing, the whole ball of wax. Some of it felt like stuff that I did as a corporate IT business analyst. It wasn't completely foreign and I've been keeping up. But it's a matter of diving into the technicals. And oh, but what a grinding, frustrating dive it was this summer. Learning by reformatting. How many times did I reformat Ubuntu? Learning by frustration. An absolutely grinding, frustrating experience. Command line installs, varied instructions, limitless parameters, countless package installs. And it was a long while before I finally actually got to my PHP Storm install. Frustration peaked, and then it peaked again. It was diving into pain, and the more I dove, the more painful it got. The more I learned, the more I realized how vast is the learning. In the midst of all this came a custom Joomla programming gig. Using my new setup in the Akiba framework and focused on a real project, my learning slowly took hold. Slowly. So it was that I persisted through this grinding frustration. By being deeply in it, emerging on the other side, I realized something completely amazing. I am right. What had started as entrepreneurial capitulation turned into a transformation into confidence. A funny thing happened to me on the way to assembler.com, a wonderful code in the cloud website. Its software repositories do not integrate with PHP Storm, my full-featured source code editor. Manually compensating for this lack of integration slowed me down so much that I did something I did not want to do. Look for an alternative. Knowing about Atlassian.com was a big help. When I saw that its repository site, bitbucket.com, it's a funny name, does integrate with PHP Storm, and that's how I ended up at Atlassian.com. And that's how I found their blog posts, story branching and continuous integration, a swords to plowshare tale, and using Grasshopper to automate Bamboo and Bitbucket, which are their software offerings. These recent articles enumerate how to use their suite of software to achieve true continuous delivery. And in so doing, my interpretation has spun the phrase, the medium is the message, with a new spin. The process is the software, which I defer to a special future The Bob Bloom Show podcast. You know something? The shoe's on the other foot. Continuous is the trend. It's coming on at full speed with full force. What I thought was a ways off is smacking us all in the face. My idea that a bunch of consultants and site owners, us users, would band together to harness continuous technologies and methods is brilliant, if I do say so myself. But hadn't I just immersed myself in this stuff and found it to be ceaselessly technical? Bet your ass. There's the barrier. That's the barrier. It's ceaselessly technical. Most of the tools are free or near free. You think some guy in Toronto blogging about continuous software development being the moneyball of coding is simply making an ass of himself. Hey, me more than anyone. The entrepreneur articles wax poetic about being visionary, but the reality is no one likes a smart ass. Well, guess what, my fellow consulting brethren and site owner clients? You're fucked, and you don't even know it. As the owner of the Boston Red Sox told Billy Beane at the end of the Moneyball movie, if teams aren't tearing apart how they do baseball, they should be. Or they'll be watching the Boston Red Sox win the World Series, which I will add they did, to the consternation of this Blue Jays fan. If you're not struggling now to figure out how you're going to immerse your website in continuous software development, you will be left behind. Because your competition will be struggling with it. And they will figure out how to harness its competitive powers, and they will eat you for breakfast. Continuous software development will obsolete code at a breathtaking pace. You're going to be fucked. The success predicate is your ability to create code, not to consume it. At the beginning of the summer, I convinced myself that I was nuts in the head, yammering on about the difference between creating code and consuming it. By Labor Day, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was right all along. Consultants and site owners, users, banding together to create code becomes a way to survive and thrive in a continuous world. Pooling resources, creating a critical mass of money and expertise to create code delivered continuously is the logical response to the challenge. You know what? I'm going to skip that paragraph. If I didn't feel affirmed enough, Assembler.com posted after Labor Day, continuous delivery and scalable agile, find out the secret. Here's what the founder of Assembler.com wrote. Facebook recently announced that they are releasing changes twice per day, and every week they release code from 600 engineers. Even if you don't have the same resources as Facebook, you can have a release process that is just as fast and effective. 6 months ago, we at Assembler.com were releasing once every 4 weeks. And as our system got more complicated, the release cycle got slower. We spent more time patching production bugs after each release. Now we release every day, or many times per day with fewer bugs. It's a vast improvement. It did not come naturally. We had to figure out the process secret, which I can now share with you. The secret ingredient is a location where you test your new code prior to release. A typical software release process looks like the diagram below, which I have not recreated. Developers have been using this pattern for the last 50 years. They merge all of their changes together, then they test the release candidate to make sure everything works. They iterate this process until they have a release candidate that looks bug-free, then they release. A continuous release process uses a different test pattern. If you use this process, you can release anytime. One of our biggest challenges at Assembler.com was creating an on-demand test environment. However, this accelerates our work because developers can get test systems on demand rather than waiting for a slot in a shared QA environment. In almost every successful continuous release process, the QA box is partly occupied by automated tests written by devs that run continuous integration when each set of changes is merged. For example, we configured Jenkins to run tests on each change and downvote changes that don't pass all tests. I write about continuous integration in a future article. That is, Assembler.com will write. I've actually written about this in my blog. Developers have been using this pattern for at least 50 years, but now this pattern is obsoleting right before our eyes. You understand that it's happening now. Banding together now is a pathway to remaining competitive. It's a means to control the software you use, as opposed to being at the mercy of SaaS sites. It is a gateway to innovation that will help you keep ahead of your competitors. Are you going to consume software or create it? Consumers to the left, keep walking. Consultants and site owners who want to create it, contact me. So I'm not folding my tent. After a few weeks of client work, I'm going heads down, continuing my LaSalleMart conversion to Joomla 2.5. It's a priority as this conversion is proving to be quite the bottleneck to broader progress. This is Bob Bloom signing off, wishing you a profitable week.